What is going on, everybody? It is episode 852 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. We are back from the weekend, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. We were just in the middle of spilling the tea. We were having a little tea session.
I actually checked while spilling the tea to make sure that the audio mixer wasn't showing that we were talking about it. We were good.
We always joke about having a hot mic moment, but it hasn't happened yet. So fingers crossed, we're all good. We don't want anyone hearing us gossiping about people or saying slurs. We have a $20 super chat from Shane H. Wilder.
For your reference, I do the gossip. She does the slurs.
No comment. Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Monday, Brett and Mary. The Cast Brew Gongo ad is out, complete with a warm gradient, a kindly old Southern narrator, and Mary singing the jingle. I might even appear in there a bit. This was a fun one to script and film." I did see it. I liked my part. That jingle was stuck in my head, the Folgers jingle, all day. So thank you for that.
Olivia got her Gongo mug finally. Those USAID money really must have.
Imagine if it just came broken.
It would be really funny. How like indicative of just something.
I mean, that's on brand for the Gongo, for your Gongo mug to show up broken.
Yeah. It is what it is, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. We had a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, as always, I have to remind you to please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you, both on YouTube and on Rumble. You can share the video out with everybody that you know. The more people that you share our content with, the faster this channel can grow. It is the best way to help us. Amongst all the many ways that you can help this channel, sharing it with everybody.
We're getting kind of famous on Rumble.
3K? That's what I'm saying here? Yeah. 3,000 subscribers?
We're Rumble celebrities, yeah. Brett. We made it.
I can't wait.
We made it to the big leagues.
Yeah, we're everywhere. That actually would be really funny if one day, like, you get noticed and somebody specifically says, "I saw you on Rumble."
Yo, are you that girl from Rumble? I actually was recognized at an IHOP yesterday.
You should start keeping a log of, like...
Actually, that's true. I should have, like, at least something to write down my note of, like, how it went. Yeah. You know, that's, like, something that would be sentimental later on in life for me.
You know what you should do? You should... This is how you dispel the internet versus the real world and why it's less scary to be in the real world. What you do is you log all of your interactions with people in the real world who recognize you, as opposed to the absolute hellscape of messages that I'm sure you get on the internet.
Right. Yeah, I don't check the messages, but when someone comes up to me in real life, they might be one of the people that left one of those messages, and you never know.
You'll never know.
They are nice face to face, obviously, but they might have perhaps left a hate comment. You never know what they wanted to say behind their avatar, but... Yep. Everyone has been nice so far.
There you go. So maybe you should do that. Make a book about it. That'd be great. I'd love to see that.
Just awkward interactions.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. So what are we talking about? Well, number one, of course, being that Justin Bieber is exposing the drug-fueled mind control going on in Hollywood.
We might be a little bit over dramatic with that one, but he did post something cryptic on Instagram suggesting that he is researching drugs that are used for mind control. Yeah,
so we're going to talk about that. We were also going to talk about how in a world full of Nick Frosts, you should in fact be a Tom Felton. I am, of course, talking about the actor who's going to be playing Hagrid in the ill-fated upcoming Harry Potter television series. Has got his new comments coming out where he doesn't agree with J.K. Rowling on the issue of transgenderism. And of course, Tom Felton was just shown on Friday, I believe it was, in this clip Variety, putting on a masterclass in how to deal with a press that absolutely wants to catch you in some type of, I guess, off-color remark. And he handled it beautifully. So we're going to compare and contrast the two and talk about it. I want to talk maybe a little bit more about how a little bit more gratitude from people might go a long way in keeping these things off your back. So we're going to discuss that. Also, Alex Cooper has a new documentary coming out, and we're going to talk about that and her choice to delay having kids.
Yeah, the call her daddy empire calls, you know, she can't pay attention to starting a family with her new husband because she's so focused on her $100 million deal.
Yes, she is. So we got that. We got a bunch of other stuff. So if you're ready, Mary, we can just go ahead and get started. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, guys, the upcoming Fantastic Four movie comes out at the end of July, and it seems like right now they've got some good news on their plate. There have been very early box office predictions giving estimates of like 136 million, maybe even more for this film. Certainly, there was a lot of people talking about how when the movie's pre-sale tickets went online, it supposedly crashed these pre-sale ticket sellers. There have been people who have pushed back against that, but it isn't all good news because they're in the middle of this press junket right now, and pretty much everyone from Vanessa Kirby to Pedro Pascal to producer Grant Curtis are giving statements that at the very least to people on the internet are going to be construed in a way that don't exactly jive with the way the vibe shift is going in the year 2025. The headline says the Fantastic Four First Steps producer appears to confirm that Sue Storm will be the team's leader. Of course, everybody else considers Reed Richards to be the team leader. So people have to ask the question why this would happen in the year 2025 after the, again, vibe shift.
Well, it's funny because I haven't been paying attention to a lot of the fan debates about Fantastic Four, but it came up on IRL last week. And I think the guest, Drew Hernandez, he said it's Mary Sue Storm. Everyone is calling her Mary Sue Storm because she is taking charge in this portrayal.
I will say that that is a fantastic name that I didn't even think about. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea, but
this was the quote from the producer. He says, "If you do go back through the comics, you realize that Sue Storm is arguably the leader of the Fantastic Four because without Sue Storm, everything falls apart. We had the desire to date aesthetically, but in terms of character and treatment, who should be front and center, it's like, hey, let's tell the best story possible." I translate that to be, let's use 1960s aesthetic, but let's girl boss in the way that you do in 2025. I did get into a discussion. I was on with Valiant Renegade last night because we had the discussion about Ballerina, and maybe this will come up later this week. But I do think there is actually a distinction to be made against girl boss and against Mary Sue being different things, because the point is that in that movie, she gets her ass kicked up and down constantly. And it's hard to call her a girl boss when she's not constantly being valorized by everyone around her.
You mean a Mary Sue?
Yes.
Because you think Ballerina
is a girl boss, but not a Mary Sue.
Yeah, not a Mary Sue.
She's not valorized constantly at the best at everything. She did not, after a fashion, just get good at everything without having to train, which is a hallmark of that character.
What makes her a girl boss then?
I guess because she does end up winning all these fights, and it's past the realm of believability. But the point that I made in the review was that, look, believability went out the window when John Wick went off the roof and survived. And in a lot of ways, it went out the window in John Wick 1 when he falls off the balcony of like the nightclub and he lands on the small of his back where he had his like Glock 26 in the small of his back, and it didn't break his back. But the point is that these interviews don't look great at a time where you have to master your marketing campaign. You cannot afford any slip-ups. At this point now, Captain America 4 didn't do the money it needed to. It looks like Thunderbolts is going to be like the second worst performing Marvel movie maybe ever. It's barely
second to the Marvels.
To the Marvels.
Then they also did an interview with Vanessa Kirby, who said she laughed at the comic where in this issue, Reed Richards buys Sue Storm a dress to stop her from complaining. And she hopes that this portrayal will modernize her character. But she didn't want to make Sue Storm a bad boss bitch, in Vanessa Kirby's own words. Instead, she set out to find a, quote, genuine feminine soulfulness.
Again, I think the problem here is just that when people consider Reed Richards to be the leader of the Fantastic Four, any change at all is not going to be met with kindness. Nobody's going to be giving you the benefit of the doubt here. The biggest hallmark to me when I think of bad female characters tends to be snark. So as long as they avoid snark, I tend to be on the lenient side. I think it's one of the reasons I hated Indiana Jones 5 so much was the snark. I despise that aspect of characters.
But I think the most common complaint about Fantastic Four is just the fact that Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards, not just the portrayal of Sue Storm as a Mary Sue character. And here's what Vanessa Kirby said about working with Pedro Pascal. And you might recall this video of them doing promotion together on stage, and he gets anxiety, so he grabs her by the hand to stabilize himself emotionally. Vanessa Kirby said, "I've never had a male actor as a counterpart who's been so utterly equal and supportive of the relationship and also the female character opposite him. I feel so grateful every day to have an actor like Pedro who is so generous." And then Pedro responded by saying, "I love being led in a way. What you may identify as generosity for me, it just isn't. I'm inspired by, I guess just powerful women have been the thing that has gotten me through being alive. So to have the opportunity to stand by one, to learn from one, just a partner, it's partnership. It's male and female, but it's also kind of a transcendent sort of partnership in the work and in the characters. So I don't really know what the F I'm going to do without you, honestly."
Look, I don't even know what to make of that.
So
like, I don't.
It sounds like he's like kind of got a crush on her, but he also has
wasn't
like a
there
weird...
a movie called Cuck that came out a couple years ago? He should have been in Cuck.
Yes, and this reminded me of all of the comments Chris Pine made when he was doing promotion for the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I forgot about that.
And the writers and directors at the time did an interview with Variety where they admitted they love emasculating leading men, but the film's storyline was in no way based on wokeness. And they also said...
It is fair to point out that people that movie ended up being highly regarded
people
by
liked
people.
it.
People liked that movie.
It was just a bad press run. And then Chris Pine, they said, was more than happy to stand down from the alpha male role, allowing writers and directors to make him look as bad as possible throughout the film, where they preferred to have their male heroes challenged and not simply heroic.
Yeah, I mean...
I thought the whole point of a hero is that they face challenges, though.
He does, however, perform that same role in Wonder Woman opposite Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
That's kind of his role in that movie, too. Maybe he has that on his resume.
Well, maybe
it's like under his special talents.
In Dungeons and Dragons, he possibly took a more like panicky male lead.
There was also comments from Collider that referred to the past Fantastic Four movies as a more male-gazing era of filmmaking, which just makes me want to just end it all sometimes. It does. Comments.
Well, what are they referring to? Any specific
to the way
instance?
Sue Storm was was portrayed by Jessica Alba in the prior films. They referred to her as being more eye candy in the 2007 and 2005. Was it 2005 and 2007 movies? I don't remember which year Rise of the Silver Surfer was, but that, and then they said that the Kate Mara version was marginally better in 2015. Well, ignoring the fact that that movie is literally considered one of the worst comic book movies of all time. It's literally called Fan Four Stick, and it's derided and hated by everybody. And that was the one where they race swapped a bunch of characters.
So
as well.
The 2015 not the
Jessica Alba ones.
Okay.
Look, this is just one of those things where I think we need to go back to the era of like 2023 in the writer's strike where they're just not allowed to talk.
It was so nice. It wasn't lucrative for our business of talking about these things, but we fared fine.
I think what they should do is they should just... The bravest executive to ever get hired at one of these companies is going to be... You know the Don Draper meme where he's like this? He's like, what if they don't talk?
What does this have to do with hamburgers?
Yeah. So the point would be to send them out, maybe to do some type of interactive press tour. I did see the one, there was this great one where a bunch of kids got to meet Superman. They got to meet David Cornsweet as Superman. That was kind of, it makes him look heroic, but he's not over there talking about how Lois Lane is going to represent truth in the era of fake news over at the Daily Planet. And there's just so many ways that you could do this without letting these actors talk. And not even to their own fault here, but the issue is that it's going to be misinterpreted. Whatever you're saying is going to be misinterpreted by someone. We had those topics like a month ago or 2 months ago now, where it was like, where they talked about how there would be gender politics in this movie. And me and you have had this discussion more than a few times. When this stuff comes out, usually it's a lot less prevalent in the movie than it is in the promotion to the movie. Usually the movie ends up being slightly better than how it sounds when these actors get talking and kind of, waxing poetic about what their movie's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing you could do is just tell them all to shut up. Don't let them talk.
You could at least tell them these are your bullet points. These are the things we want you to say.
Because a good interviewer
off from our guidance.
A good interviewer will find a way. They find a way to turn it that direction. They also said there was that Park Place article that referenced the fact that Adam Driver was at one point up for the character of Reed Richards and said that he wasn't able to emotionally connect with the character. Maybe this is why. Maybe he's like, I don't want to be the leader who's not the leader. They also brought up the fact that Mahershala Ali has had to push back several times in this ill-fated Blade movie that isn't getting done anytime soon, because the rumor was that they kept wanting to make it about Blade's daughter and not doing the easiest story in the history of the world, which is cool vampire kills vampires.
Yeah.
Cool Daywalker kills vampires is not a hard
it's a
concept.
Formula. It works.
It's like Blade 1 is amazing as a movie, and if you can't get that right, then I don't know what there is to do. I'm going to say that the early predictions were too far out to buy whether the $136 million number is accurate. If we get into early July and that number stands, then that could definitely hold true. But either way, it doesn't matter because either way, it does matter extensively, because with the failure of the last two Marvel movies not living up to what they needed to make, think about what people must think now that there's an Avengers movie, however, like reformed in name, that made like less than $400 million. Because remember, it's not called Thunderbolts anymore. It's called New Avengers. And now there is a Avengers movie that couldn't even break $400 million.
So you think that they are going to lie about the budget for this Fantastic Four movie, right?
I mean, the meme is like now every movie cost $180 million, but...
I just checked and it said there's no publicly disclosed budget yet for the Fantastic Four movie, but it's likely to be higher than whatever they say.
It's way more than $180 million.
Because of the fact that they were in the middle of production during the writer's strike.
Yeah. So it's expensive.
And the SAG strike.
And they needed to make money. They need all of it. Anything involving X-Men, Fantastic Four, or any of those characters needs to make money, because it needs Bob Iger to be able to show, hey, look, it made sense for us to buy these characters, because that's what Bob Iger is good at. He's not good at creating his own characters and bolstering them. He's great at buying up IP from other companies.
You also mentioned that they're going to have a lot of competition.
July is busy. So I get the idea is like, look, July is busy. It's got Jurassic World on the 2nd. It's got Superman the 11th. And then it's got Fantastic Four the 25th, I believe. So you do get like a 2-week break between Superman and Fantastic Four. But, if you're the type of person, the diehards will go either way. But not everybody wants to spend $200 at the movies 3 times in a month. That's a lot to ask of people. And it has to have a strong opening weekend, because Marvel movies historically are front loaded, meaning that they don't do well with the week to week holds. They do well in the opening weekend, and that makes up the lion's share of their box office. The idea is like most movies make their money, a third of their box office in the opening weekend. Right? So if it opens to $136 million, if it opens to $100 million, that's not enough. Right. Not at that budget.
Well, can you enlighten me why the summer box office is so packed every year? I would assume that people are less likely to go to the movies when it's nice out.
I mean, it opens up showings during the week for kids that want to go that might not necessarily need to go with their parents.
I feel like kids don't care about the Fantastic Four.
I don't know. I mean, I assume
is that just me? Like,
in some
living
ways,
in a bubble?
their strategy might be the same way that millennials treated Lilo and Stitch in Moana 2, which is like or even Inside Out 2, which is like millennials loved it and then brought their kids to go see it. So maybe the idea is like,
even the Disney dinks are more likely to have kids than the Marvel dinks.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. Look, men love superheroes in general. You don't have to be the quintessential nerd to love superheroes. Men have always loved superheroes. But in general, this movie's got a long way to go, and it's going to have to make way more than 600 to 700 million, in my opinion, if it wants to really justify everything, given the fact that the last 2 movies just didn't make the money that they needed to. If you'd gotten really great box offices out of Captain America 4 and out of Thunderbolts, then this movie wouldn't have as much riding on it. But it's the same thing is going on at DC right now. Superman has to make a crap ton of money to justify James Gunn's vision for the future. So, all right, let's move on.
Last year when Wicked came out, I was unaware as a non-theater kid that they were setting this up for a sequel. And I thought, well, the Broadway play is about an hour and a half long and they just made a 3-hour movie out of it. How could they possibly have any more ground to cover? But there is, in fact, a sequel coming out, which is titled Wicked for Good, and they put out the trailer for it last week. And I think that we should give it a watch and our first impressions.
Okay.
It's already getting dunked on by even people who are likely to see it.
Here we go. So not to be that friend that's too woke, but like, what was the problem? Like I'm never.
What do you mean that you're being woke?
Well, I mean, it would be anti-woke to say that there was a bunch of problems with it, but this
I
just
didn't
looks,
see any obvious.
Looks
problems
like a movie I'm
in
just
the
never
trailer.
I'm never gonna see.
I didn't see any obvious problems in the trailer based on just what they showed, other than the fact that it was way too long. Yeah. It was nearly 3 minutes long.
Usually that's a bad indicator. The longer a trailer is, the less faith they have in the movie.
Yeah, but there was this one still of Ariana Grande as Glinda that got posted everywhere, and it said, "What is this lighting, man? Everything that's wrong with modern cinematography can be found in this image if you think about it. I mean, zero texture, close to no contrast, overexposed, underexposed to hell, flat lighting, abhorrent scope composition, full of empty space." And that's not to say anything.
Flat lighting.
Her placement in the shot is so bizarre.
Flat lighting is a huge problem in modern Hollywood.
Look at it. There's light coming from behind her, but also from her side. Like that, it just isn't. I don't know what they're thinking.
I mean, it doesn't differentiate her from the shot.
It's above her, behind her, and from her left.
I also hate the lack of contrast that exists in most of Hollywood today.
It looked slightly better than the last one, but still, what I am looking forward to is just the press run for the Wicked sequel more than anything. I didn't watch the first one because I'm not a theater kid. But, you know, we all saw the crying interviews. People were saying that they were in a self-destructive spiral together as co-stars, encouraging each other to make an embarrassment of themselves in interviews. They were crying constantly, holding each other, caressing each other, leading to even rumors that they were having an affair together, doing drugs. There were a lot of rumors that both stars developed an eating disorder during production. And Ariana Grande has certainly not looked any more healthy since then. They're going to go on another press run for the sequel, and I assume that it's going to be a similar level of awful.
I mean,
I'm just saying, gear up for that. You're going to be seeing a lot more holding space. We're going to be holding space for the Wicked trailer.
Is there going to be more of that, like, green macaroni and cheese? Or the purple macaroni? The purple one was the one that looked like vomit.
We're going to see more bizarre marketing for this movie.
Yeah.
More tears flowing.
Yeah.
Lots of emotion, lots of space being held.
I mean, I look at that shot, and the saddest part to me is, like, gone are the days where they got to, like, work on intricate sets. Instead, you just know she's behind the biggest green screen you've ever seen in your entire life.
This kind of ignited the new conversation about how we lost Technicolor, which was used for the original Wizard of Oz movie, and the fact that doesn't seem to be any art in filmmaking anymore. It's just clearly CGI slop.
Well, when everything has to be done on a deadline and there isn't enough time, you know. That's the realm we're going towards.
Notice that Domino's Pizza reacted to the new trailer saying, "Haven't we suffered enough?"
These social media managers are just out of pocket these days.
And then one of the fans said, "Hey Domino's, you effing suck and taste like shit. Your pizzas are frozen and not even made fresh. We've suffered enough from your pizza. Traumatizing."
Do you think every social media manager, like, their whole goal is to, like, live on the edge of just almost getting fired?
I think that's the goal for how they're supposed to be portrayed, but in reality, they're hiring a bunch of millennial social media natives to run, like, the accounts for Popeyes and Wendy's.
Well, it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder when Gen Z starts running the social media accounts, because then it'll just be brain rot that has nothing to do with the product.
Yeah, I saw a reel the other day that said I'm a Gen Zer who just lied on my resume and somehow got hired to be the social media manager for this rug store. And can you please blow this up so I don't get fired? And then everybody actually did it. So this reel had like millions of views of just like shots of like carpets.
That's amazing. That's actually really smart because they probably weren't that.
The actress who played Nessa Rose in the first Wicked movie made a TikTok after the trailer came out, theorizing about the sexual orientation of literally every character in the movie. Just so you know, they're all gay.
In response to the article that came out yesterday where I said, I think, in my opinion, that the main characters are all...
When you can see the whites of the eyes above, like between the lids,
It's the
a
Senpaku
it's
eyes.
a bad sign.
Yeah.
AOC does the same thing.
Oh, she does have AOC vibes.
queer in some way. Me, in my brain, canonically, these are my thoughts. Glinda is a
That's headcanon, not because canonically would be different.
lesbian, Elphaba is bisexual, Nessa Rose is bisexual, Fiyero is bisexual, Bach is questioning but queer in some way, Dr. Gilliman, gay. Madame Morrible is a lesbian who was deeply in love once, but something happened to her love, which is now why she is the way that she is. The Wizard is
Wait, I thought you were born that way.
Yeah.
also questioning but queer in some way. Those are my thoughts. Really hoping this stays on queer TikTok and not the other side. And I'm joking, but also, no, I'm not.
It did
With
not
that, what you-
stay
I mean,
on queer
okay,
TikTok.
like, look, this is no skin off my back. I like if you were right about all of those characters, I would care 0%. So I hope that it's true. Just for you.
I can't really talk shit because the first Wicked movie did do numbers at the box office.
Yeah,
So
made a
I
ton of
can't-
money.
I cannot blame them for capitalizing on it even further. And it's going to be like a 6-hour long journey that you're going on just to watch the film adaptation of a play that's like an hour long. I just find that ridiculous.
Like these are the ones where I see this stuff and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. Look, in a lot of ways, the discussion we had about Sue Storm, or even like I kind of want to talk tomorrow about the failure of Thunderbolts, given the fact that Florence Pugh was front and center of that one. Ballerina didn't do the money that it was supposed to, is because they want to get women to go watch movies that are, sorry to say it, ladies, male coded.
Yeah.
In every way, shape, or form. And you can't manufacture it. You're not Angelina Jolie. You'll never be Angelina Jolie. She could do it in 2000. Other than that, like the other example I saw was like Atomic Blonde. I was like, does anybody even remember that? The point being that this is their stuff.
Yes,
this is their bag. Let them have it. It's completely fine.
It's on the Cope bingo card that they pull out every time you criticize a movie. And one of the Copes is, it's not for you.
This isn't for me. So if this makes a
And it's genuinely not. It's
I mean,
not
if
for
this
us.
makes $1 billion, it is for the ladies, it is for the girls and the gays, and that's
Yeah.
completely fine. That's their art. Let them have it. I say make $1 billion and make every character gay. That's completely fine.
Yeah,
Doesn't bother me
not
one bit.
planning on watching this, but I am planning on watching the interviews. I am genuinely looking forward to the insanity of this press run because the first one was just chef's kiss.
I'm holding space for this trailer.
I'm
I
holding
say
space.
for this trailer.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's move on then.
Now, fans of Billie Eilish are turning against her because she is being accused of queerbaiting. She is loud and proud about identifying as bisexual, despite the fact that she has only ever publicly dated or been interested in men. And she is now in a new relationship with a man named Nat Wolff, who I had never heard of, but apparently he's an actor, singer, songwriter, all
So
of the things.
Nat is an actual. I thought Nat King Cole
Nathaniel
was,
is his name.
Okay.
And he is partly being criticized for dating someone so much younger than him. I disagree with that criticism. He's 30 and she's 23. That's like literally not a big difference. But she is with a new rodent man. These are pictures of them kissing on a balcony in Italy with champagne, having a great time. But her fans did not take kindly to this information. They're not happy about the fact that Billie Eilish is dating a man. And it's funny because this comes just on the heels of JoJo Siwa's transition from being gay to being queer to basically just being a straight woman. Mickey Rourke did, in fact, convert her to being straight, as he predicted.
Yeah.
And Demi Lovato, also once identified as queer and non-binary, is now married to a man and looks about as conventionally feminine as you could. And Billie Eilish seems to be going the same direction.
Yeah.
She kind of acted like she was in the closet last year, but it's funny because she has made as much money as possible off of being bi in the public eye. She was featured on a song on Charli XCX's album called Brat. The song was called Guess, and it was, "You wanna guess the color of my underwear." That was the entire chorus.
Okay.
And Billie Eilish's part in that song literally says, "Charli likes boys, but she knows I'd hit it." The whole angle that they were taking with the song was Billie is so gay for Charli XCX. She's so gay, gay, gay.
Yeah.
She's such a lesbian, right? But when you look at her personal life, clearly she's not interested in dating women. She's just not. She
Can't
wants
you
to
go
date a man.
I mean, here's the thing. I was making jokes with Olivia last night about Sabrina Carpenter being a man hater. You know, and that's it. She is, you know, she makes a lot of money being a straight woman that hates men. You don't even need to do the baiting.
Yeah.
You could just be straight and hate men.
You can just be
It's
a
perfectly
misandrist who
like
is
that's
heterosexual.
that's a perfectly reasonable career path in Hollywood.
That's a lane.
That's a lane you can be in. Maybe it's because Billie Eilish kind of looks like an alien, and Sabrina Carpenter is a more, I guess, traditionally attractive woman.
I think Billie Eilish is attractive, and she does everything in her power to look ugly.
Even worse.
With the way that she dresses and does her hair and her nails and everything. She tries to look ugly as a gimmick. She was also recently seen out to dinner with Clairo, who is on tour right now with her album. She came out as bisexual last year, and that was something she received a lot of praise for doing. But she also just revealed that she is in a relationship with a man. And they are allegedly plotting together how to navigate this PR crisis. When you swerve into the gay lane and you're still ostensibly a straight woman who's interested in men, what do you do with that? They said, okay, so you can reveal your boyfriend first, and then I reveal mine like 2 days later, and we could get jumped together, so it's not as bad. And another fan of Billie Eilish said, when did Billie label herself as bisexual, though? I'm just going to call bullshit on that right now, and we will show the Variety interview where she was outed by this interviewer, and she had a big like hissy fit about it afterwards.
Women didn't like you, and when that came out, all the women were like, we love her.
I know.
How did that reception feel? Has your mind changed a little bit?
I'm still scared of them, but I think they're pretty.
Billie, did you mean to come out in this story?
Girl. No, I didn't, but I kind of thought, wasn't it obvious? Like, it's kind of been, I didn't realize people didn't know, so.
We need to get to a point where you don't even have to come out, so.
I just don't really believe in it.
They don't want that. They want to come out. They love it. Like, that's like Hollywood loves it, I mean. Like, they love anything that brings the attention back on them.
So her point was, I thought everyone knew that I was bisexual, and I didn't even need to come out because it's so obvious. And then afterwards, she posts a picture of herself on the toilet on Instagram saying, thanks Variety for my award and also for outing me on a red carpet instead of talking about anything else that matters. I like boys and girls. Leave me alone about it. Please. Literally, who cares?
They don't want to be left alone about it. In Hollywood, it doesn't matter the topic. They want you to not, they want to not
They
be
want
left
attention.
alone.
It's not that complicated.
It's their job. It's their job to get attention, but it's a little bit disingenuous to pretend like that you didn't want the attention.
Well, they don't just want the attention, they also want to monetize it. It's something that's easy to use as a gimmick for marketing purposes. And I do think that's partly what JoJo Siwa was doing when she came out as a lesbian all those years ago. I think that she was young enough where we can give her some leeway for not understanding herself yet. But people were all too happy to jump on that bandwagon and celebrate her for being a gay icon. And only to find out very shortly after that that was never true. That she was straight all along, and she was just a confused child who had been in the public eye for many years and had no identity and needed some time to figure it out.
Yeah, it's disingenuous for them to bring it up constantly on red carpets and then say we should live in a world where you don't even have to come out. Either you want the attention by talking about it or you don't.
But then I'm a victim and you revealed my secret.
Yeah.
That was obvious that I thought everyone knew.
That was different than the Rebel Wilson one, where they like gave her the ultimatum.
Oh, well, yeah, Rebel Wilson hadn't come out as anything, and she was on a date with a woman, I guess. And there was some journalist that took a picture of her on that date and said, "Do you have any comment?" And she didn't want them to release the photo. That was a different situation, but still, literally, it's 2025. At that time, it was 2023. No one cares that you're gay. Literally, it's not interesting anymore. Nobody is clamoring to find out your sexual orientation.
What's the next evolution for these actors? What's the next thing that they can talk about where people will care, since this stuff is so passé now?
I mean, Lorde was kind of getting a lot of attention for talking about going off of birth control. That's definitely a new gimmick. You could hop on the Maha train.
I don't know where they go, because the thing is like they're always 30 years behind. Like they're still portraying like movies that dislike Christianity as some sort of subversive piece of art or like artistic commentary on the world we live in, despite the fact that that's not accurate.
When they released that song last year, Charli XCX and Billie Eilish thought of themselves as the modern day Britney Spears and Madonna kissing on stage at the VMAs. Yeah. They literally thought that it had the same cultural impact because, as you said, they're living 30 years ago. They haven't caught up to the times yet.
I don't know if there's anything that you can do that's going to be like that. That's not.
You can. There are plenty of taboos left. There are plenty of taboos. They're just not willing to touch those taboos because they're politicized. And I saw, in fact, Lorde was getting a lot of pushback for talking about getting off of birth control. Yeah. That's a taboo that they are not willing to touch.
Yeah. I don't know where they go from here, but they're going to have to get together with their marketing team, and maybe they should hire that Domino's social media person to start making their posts.
Or just like stop doom scrolling, like get off the internet.
That's always good. That is excellent advice all the time. Like literally all the time. All right. What would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day? We've got two cringes technically. We've got one cringe from you, and then I've got an AI slop video I want everybody to see. Maybe I'm gonna start torturing people.
Can we start with the AI slop video? Of
course. Let's do that here.
Because I didn't watch this beforehand, so I could give my genuine reaction.
Yeah, it's a little bit of commentary on the world that we live in now. Let me pull it up here, make sure I've got it here. All right. This is, look, there's riots, the world is ending, and this is every influencer in those riots.
A detonation has just occurred on the outer ring of the city. We'll now be going live to our top influencer opinions.
OMG, people, the world is ending. Are you seeing this? This is actually so exciting.
Yo, I know it's chaos, but you got real survivor's wife energy.
That's cool. I like them feisty.
Like, it would totally be better if we ran it, you know? Men literally destroy everything, and my girls need to stop being so soft with these basic losers. Who even needs men, right? Anything a man builds just gets destroyed by a different man.
Guys, this collapse is literally the perfect dip. I'm buying more right now.
Nukes are Sua's aesthetic today. I made this outfit.
Even as the world burns, my struggle for visibility and acceptance continues. This is exactly why representation matters now more than ever.
As I keep saying on the channel, the world collapses when men stop lifting. It's not politics, it's testosterone.
Yes, yes, yes. Balloon time. So yummy. Nuclear boom. So tasty. Thank you.
Nothing stops the daily grind. Not even a little natural disaster.
Friends, this is the breakthrough moment from chapter 7. When everything falls apart, we rebuild ourselves stronger.
My girl, you wouldn't believe what just happened.
Hi! OMG, I just totally shit my pants after that noise.
Chat, this is literally the most realistic survival game ever, and someone donate so I can buy a boat DLC before I actually drown.
So this company says their device is quote unquote indestructible, supposedly survives anything, including the literal end times.
Hey guys, remember, health is wealth. That's why I take these 7 supplements right before my cheese stuffed hot dogs.
Officials confirm outbound flights are suspended, except for government and priority class departures.
My dog has diplomatic status.
OMG, there's like a nuke or something? Can we get 5 gifted subs for surviving the blast, maybe?
Today I'm showing you how to infiltrate an executive class bunker using only social engineering and a vape.
Your nukes are so manly. You're such a big boy. Go check out the link in bio, my king.
I told you so when I said they'd shut down the grid. Look at you scrambling like rats now. The fiat system is collapsing exactly as we predicted. I just bought a bunker with doggy coin and a handshake. You losers can keep your degrees.
Remember, beautiful. A detonation.
They really covered all the bases
I
there.
think they got just about
They
all
got
of them.
the Twitch streamers, the NPC streamers, the alpha male podcasters,
the ASMR
Instagram
streamers.
models.
Ugh.
I'm literally obsessed.
There's like a nuke.
I just went to ground zero of the nuclear blast, and I'm literally obsessed.
I'm sure there's at least one of these influencer
10 out of
types
10 recommend
in LA right now. So.
Wow.
All right.
I love that.
Cringe of the day. Look, AI may destroy civilization, but I'm going to enjoy every second of it.
That was the comeback of our brain rot of the day.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Here we go.
This is our cringe. This is a woman visiting the graves of her ancestors.
Okay.
I can hear the voice of my ancestors calling me. I can hear the voice of my ancestors' song. Oh yes, so welcome to the voice of my ancestors calling me. Welcome to the whisper of their song.
The hell did I just watch?
And just like with everything, it's like you imagine her setting up the tripod.
Yeah, like you're picturing like what she's actually the sad
getting
part
into
is
character.
The third leg of the tripod is actually on another gravestone right now.
Yeah.
To get the like she tried everything to
she
not
propped it up on another gravestone.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. My goodness. That was awful. Okay, cue of the day. Mama's Mead in Menageries says, when the solicitors forget to solicit because your dog is cute. Good job, Blueberry Muffin.
Aw, Blueberry Muffin.
Blueberry Muffin is a cute one.
I love that name.
Aw. Okay.
Little head tilt there.
I like the head tilt. All right, let's get started.
Justin Bieber's disturbing social media behavior continues, and the latest is a post about loyalty and transactional relationships. He is constantly vague booking, that's what you call it, Brett?
Yes.
About someone or some group of people, perhaps people that he used to work with and cut ties with last year. Here was his post. Loyalty is manipulative language. Loyalty is a duty. It's an obligation. That's not free will. Love is not a duty. Love is a delight. Please stop using loyalty to keep people around you out of your own fear. It's hurting us. Mafia members use loyalty to keep people in their gangs. Let's not perpetuate this manipulative language. Love over loyalty forever. So perhaps he's suggesting that he kept toxic people around him in the inner workings of his business dealings. who he didn't trust but felt he owed something to them. Perhaps this is directed at Scooter Braun or any number of people that he's cut ties with recently. We really have no idea, and this is still firmly in the realm of speculation. He also followed it up with a series of sad bathroom selfies where he clearly looks like he's under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I don't think that's a reach for me to say that. Like, would you agree?
Yeah.
He's posing almost like he's making fun of influencers, but in a way that only makes sense to him. That a lot of fans responded to this saying that he's clearly struggling with his mental health and it's too much to deny it anymore. There are still rumors of him continuing drug use and going down a spiral.
Why do you care?
Right.
It's not your business.
The thing is, I don't think anyone would care if Justin Bieber just stopped posting, but he is on a spree for the last weeks or months. He just won't stop posting concerning things on social media. One of them was a bizarre post of shipping containers alongside pictures of him as a child and one of him as a baby, I believe. People believed that was some sort of underhanded suggestion about human trafficking, saying that he was victimized in some way, but without being explicit. And just recently, over the weekend, he posted this to his Instagram story, a screenshot of what looks like a conversation with ChatGPT or Grok. In summary, there is clear evidence that ketamine has been misused in certain law enforcement scenarios, particularly in ways that amount to chemical restraint or social control, with disproportionate effects on Black individuals. This is a serious public health, legal, and racial justice issue. Would you like links to specific reports or case studies? And then he asked, has ketamine been used to control people's emotions? And he got the answer, yes. So he posted this screenshot on Instagram, and people believe he is trying to expose the fact that he has been drugged in order to control his emotions and his responses to things. And I went looking further into this, if there was any reason to believe this is true. He's constantly posting pictures of himself smoking weed these days, but no one really thinks anything of that anymore. You're California sober, right? But it goes deeper than that. It goes all the way back to his first and only arrest for his DUI back in January of 2014. This was when he was going through his first public breakdown. And at the time, TMZ published this article, Justin Bieber, my mom gives me drugs. And this was following his DUI arrest, where they did a report on the substances in his system, which he admitted he was under the influence of RX meds, alcohol, and weed prior to his DUI arrest. Then law enforcement sources told TMZ that Justin said he was on anti-anxiety medications such as Xanax, but wasn't sure exactly what kind, because he just takes whatever his mom, Patty, gives him.
Oh, like, if that's true, like, feeding someone Xanax who's not prescribed to it is insane, and getting somebody hooked on Xanax is evil. Like, I can't speak to her motives, but the act of doing it is evil because, look, Xanax is one of the few medications that you can literally die from the withdrawal from.
It's unclear if he has his own prescriptions for these drugs and his mom just handles them, or if he's using his mom's prescriptions, which would be illegal. If Justin does have a valid prescription, the presence in his system wouldn't be held against him. Then, in the same month, police had raided Justin Bieber's home after a neighbor reported that he egged their house, leading to a lot of financial damages. They raided his house and found the presence of Xanax pills and other drugs at the time. And this was something he admitted to later on. In an interview with Vogue back in 2019, he actually admitted that he was abusing Xanax at the time. He said, I was using Xanax because I was so ashamed of my behavior. And he said it got pretty dark. He said drugs put a screen between me and what I was doing. Things got so bad that his security team had to come into his room a few times a night to check his pulse and see if he was breathing. So this is not speculation. He openly admitted that he was abusing these drugs illegally at the time and has said nothing else of the idea that his mom was feeding him the drugs illegally. But the question at hand is, if Justin Bieber is being controlled with psychologically manipulative drugs, who is his supplier and who is his handler? Who is his Harley Pasternak? You know?
Doesn't even matter. I mean, like, they can get drugs from anywhere. Literally anywhere.
He told law enforcement that it was his mom. That's just based on what TMZ reported. And the answer, seemingly, to that question, who is Justin Bieber's Harley Pasternak? It's his parents, allegedly. Also, on the same day that TMZ published this article about the Xanax, it was reported that Jeremy Bieber, Justin's father, and Jamie Spears, Britney Spears' father, were discussing a conservatorship for Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
So I suppose that means Jeremy, his father, was...
I mean, I don't trust
getting tips and advice from Jamie Spears, who put Britney in an allegedly abusive conservatorship and forced her to work and stole her money.
I don't trust the family that's feeding him drugs to be the ones putting him in a conservatorship.
But that's exactly, according to Britney, what happened to her. She says she was forced to take antipsychotic medications for a long period of time while she was still working during her Las Vegas residency under the conservatorship. And it's well known that if you're on a prolonged use of those drugs, you're never going to be the same again. It completely fries your brain, and she is no longer recognizably the same person she used to be. And a lot of people are saying a similar situation fell upon Justin Bieber's life, and we're starting to see the evidence of it. I also found a report from a former family friend of Justin Bieber named Corey Bernier, who spoke to In Touch Weekly back in 2014, saying that Justin Bieber's dad, Jeremy Bieber, also gave him drugs. He said, Jeremy Bieber isn't such a good influence on his son. Jeremy loves his kids more than anything, but he is enabling Justin's partying. When Justin was 18, I saw Jeremy give him Percocet. He said, try one of these, son. Justin liked the feeling and decided to go four-wheeling after taking it and ended up crashing into a pond. And Corey Bernier said that during the years that followed, Justin and Jeremy would smoke weed and drink together, saying Jeremy loves to party and is being a friend to Justin, not a father. Justin needs guidance right now. He needs someone who will say no, not someone who is joining in with him.
His dad didn't come back into his life till later in his life, right?
Yeah.
So he's not going to have, he doesn't have the authority to punish him or be strict with him anyways, even if he wanted to.
Justin has posted many things over the years about his relationship or lack thereof with his dad, saying, he was even tweeting things like, I miss you, Dad. Like, please come to my show. He grew up in a single mother household with his dad basically not being in the picture. And then he was picked up by a team of mentors who filled that role in his life for their own nefarious purposes and their own self-interested purposes. They wanted to make money off of him. And then his dad shows up later on once he's a huge success and he can benefit from, you know, Justin being a mega wealthy superstar.
Try one of these,
and he is encouraging him. Yeah, he is encouraging him to abuse drugs and allegedly actually handing them to him.
Yeah.
And encouraging this while people are watching and listening. I don't know if we can necessarily say that this family friend was telling the truth, but I think it's a weird thing to lie about.
Take one
just
of
for
these,
attention.
son, sounded weird. Just the formal nature of calling him son in that moment just seemed weird to me. The language seemed
I mean, perhaps that was an ad
But I
lib,
don't
but
know
the,
if I
the thing
did-
he
yeah.
witnessed, like witnessing his dad giving him Percocet, maybe that was something that actually happened. I do think it is a weird thing to just randomly lie about for attention.
The charitable interpretation of the mom would be that she didn't know how to help him, and these were the only things that calmed him down or helped him feel in his mind like he felt better, despite the fact that they're self-destructive and hurting him. The less charitable version of that is that it makes him pliable. So it's a matter of how well you know them and how much leeway you want to give these people as human beings when interpreting, and it's not even whether this stuff is true. It is true that this stuff happened. Obviously, Justin said that himself about the first story about his mom. So, it's really up to your own interpretation about how charitable you want to be about another person.
Well, through all of this speculation about what Justin is going through behind the scenes with financial woes or mental health or drug addiction, it's all up in the air, and most people are implicating Scooter Braun and former business associates of Justin rather than taking a look at his own family. And I'm not really willing to believe that his mom or his dad are these naive people who just, trusted the people working with Justin and didn't know what else to do, and they were well-meaning, but they made mistakes. I don't think that makes much sense because we've learned enough about Hollywood stage parents at this point, especially with the example of Jamie Spears, who had a personal correspondence with Justin's dad.
And none of this changes what he needs to do. Anybody who's been through rehab will tell you it is going to be up to him to make the changes that he has to. For him, that's going to be extra difficult because the people who are bad influences in his life are so deeply woven into the fabric of his existence that just separating yourself. This isn't going through rehab and losing a dealer's phone number. These are the people who you have trusted with your life for a long, long, long time. But it's his responsibility to do that, and you can feel bad for him for what's been done, especially if adults abused the trust that they had in them from their son to support their own ends. But he's going to have to find a way out of it on his own because nobody's going to help you.
I think of his wife Haley in all of this and what she must be thinking and her strategy. It seems to be just denying that anything is amiss, and no one is buying it.
Yeah.
And she's clearly way more successful than him at this point with her business. She just sold it for $1 billion. She's on the up and up. There's only good press about her, and she kind of has to dissociate herself publicly from him and distance herself from these controversies in order to keep up appearances. I don't think that she is one of these nefarious actors. She just probably doesn't know what to do and is mostly concerned with her own affairs.
Yeah, that doesn't make her nefarious. It puts her in a bad position, and unfortunately, to go through that enormous effort that it's going to take to help him.
If we're to believe the rumor that she stalked him for years and was an obsessed fan and married him when she still had a parasocial relationship with him, maybe it doesn't even matter who he really is. Or she misjudged the gamble that she was taking when she married someone who grew up in this industry and is now finally facing the consequences of it in his own life.
All right. Let's go to Super Chats. I guess we'll start with that one.
Yeah, we have a 20 from Value in You. Brett, I know it's personal, but can you talk about what really helped you best? Wait, what?
Beat
addiction and how bad it got.
It got real bad. On a different day, I might be more inclined to be more detailed about this, but it got bad, and help for me was when there was no other option. It wasn't really until after my mom died that I was able to really, really get through everything again, and because I had a couple of relapses there. But after my mom died, there was just no other option, and you had to do it, and it was that or end up on the street. And I got very, very lucky. Skating played a huge part in that, especially in 2019 and 2020. like COVID was actually the best thing that happened to me because I've been sober for a while, a little bit at that point, or a while at that point after my last relapse. And then the world shut down and I was able to literally go out and skate every day and not be bothered.
Thank you.
Total issues.
And now I'm dancing.
That's okay. It's okay to dance. We support this. All right.
I don't think it's a theory anymore. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to say that celebrities are controlled with mind-altering drugs. We know that that's happening. We already know that. How did Kanye post the screenshot of Harley Pasternak's message to him about sending him back to Zombieland? And we all just, you know, ignored it, kind of. It didn't get the same mainstream coverage that it should have gotten. With the level of impact it had, people remember that, and it was just never addressed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clearly what was happening. He was being fed mind-altering drugs by someone who believed he had the power to control him. I don't think Kanye is the only one. He's far from the only one. AI Shih Tzu said, okay, Brett, I finished Buffy. It's good, but I had an intrinsic primal irritation at Willow when she went to college. Back then, default freshman lib was probably cute. These days, deport her with vigor.
There you go. There you go.
Well, she is a citizen.
I don't think you can deport
I don't think
Willow.
you can deport
Plus,
her.
as a witch, I just don't think she's going to let you.
Is she a lib in the show?
I mean,
a college lib?
They're all. It's Hollywood. They're all. Even Frank Reagan on Blue Bloods is a lib, despite the fact that he's a conservative.
But was there even that much political dialogue in Buffy?
I mean, it was pretty well coached and written into the storylines.
Yeah.
But
Gordon Shumway said, happy Monday, be wrecked, and Mary Queen of Scoffs. Don't let the haters tell you your fashion critiques are wrong, Mary. Girls wearing stuff like that should be shamed. Yeah, I posted a video about the 2025 fashion trends I hate over the weekend. And
which ones do you hate?
It included many things. Butter yellow was one of them. They're trying to make butter yellow a thing.
Stop doing that.
Utility jorts on women. Like the large, it looks like you raided your dad's closet. The barrel leg jeans and the baggy jeans in general, but specifically the barrel leg jeans. The weird Kim Jong-un vests that women are wearing these days, especially with the ties in the front. Bizarre. Women wearing bloomers as pants.
Okay.
Which is just you're wearing underwear in public. Don't do that. But the girlies are mad at me. Yeah. They're very angry.
Well, you can't be judgmental of other girlies. You're not lifting up and empowering women.
I'm not being a girl's girl, I guess.
Girls help girls.
Well, I posted it to TikTok as well, which if you haven't followed, it's at Mary Archived. I posted the same video to TikTok, and I saw a comment that said, this is a Republican girly.
I saw that.
Trying to convince women to dress more conservatively.
Like, does it really have to be conservative to hate barrel? Wouldn't it actually be less conservative to? I'm so confused. So if you want women to wear jeans that actually fit them, like form-fitting, wouldn't that be a more sex-positive liberal thing?
It definitely is more sexually attractive to wear skinny jeans over baggy jeans.
Yeah.
So I would say one of the options is more objectively modest, but less stylish.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to convince women to dress like trad wives. I was just like, you don't need to look like Adam Sandler.
The only one who should be allowed to wear jorts is John Cena. Don't at me.
I said this off air, but there is nothing you can argue that's going to make jorts sexy. It's not going to happen.
I mean, isn't there logic that they're not trying to be sexy?
Right. That's the conceit of it all. But I was just saying, like, you look silly. You can't argue with me because you look silly. You're wearing jorts.
Let's do one more.
Weary Traveler said, I got my mugs last week and had forgotten I bought them. It was a nice surprise, and now all we need is PCC coffee. The, wasn't it Tate that said it's like being your own personal Santa when you
buy
order
something on Amazon at 3 in the morning and you forget you ordered it?
little treat, just a little surprise.
That has definitely happened to me before.
Buying PCC merch, especially Gongo merch, is self-care.
You should do that.
You should do it.
All right, let's move on.
Tom Felton recently did an interview on a red carpet regarding J.K. Rowling's controversial views on gender ideology. And this is because he is currently playing Draco Malfoy, his original character, in a stage play of The Cursed Child. So this is back on his radar. They asked him what he has to say about the controversy around J.K. Rowling's political views and whether it impacts him. He says, it doesn't. And it's just a funny turn of events when the villain in the movie turns out to be the nicest person that's ever worked with her.
Yeah. Let's watch this clip here.
How does the sort of Twitterverse controversy around J.K. Rowling's views impact you at all, or impact your work on the world at all?
No, I can't say it does. I'm not really that attuned to it. The only thing I always remind myself is that I've been lucky enough to travel the world. Here I am in New York, and I have not seen anything bring the world together more than Potter. And she's responsible.
Even the way he says it, there's exactly how he says it in the movie.
For that, so I'm incredibly grateful.
Yeah.
He was almost about to start laughing toward the end of the clip.
Yeah.
Because I think he knew that this was coming. He had a scripted response already prepared in his mind because he knew this would happen, and Variety is notorious for this. But these were a few of the pissed off responses. What would a privileged straight white cis male know about the oppression faced by my trans colleagues? Another one said, what a privileged straight white man take. And another one said, I mean, of course they don't impact him. He's not the target of her scorn.
I mean, but he becomes the target of your scorn when he doesn't talk about what you want him to talk about.
He did. It's seemingly insignificant to just make this like 30-second remark that restrains from throwing J.K. Rowling under the bus. But what he did was a big deal because it was going to cause him to, get just as much backlash.
Yeah, and then he has to deal with the backlash for however long they have to be angry at him until they move on to the next target.
And he's going to be labeled the same way. He's going to be labeled the transphobe, the bigot. So he really went out on a limb for J.K. Rowling, and I think it was only him and some of the older actors and then the actress who played Luna Lovegood who have said anything positive about J.K. Rowling since then.
Yeah.
The rest of them have just been happy to bite the hand that feeds them, essentially.
I do kind of laugh deep down about how screwed every single one of these new actors is for the next...
The children?
Like all the adult actors are going to get even more questions about this because it's going to be deemed more acceptable to talk to the adults about this. The kids will get that more once they come of age. I do believe that they'll ask these questions mildly less of the kids, but the adults are going to get it in every interview. And all the other actors from the prior movies, they got a decade longer of not having to answer questions about stuff like that. I mean, almost 2 decades when you think about it. 2001 when the movie came out. We got all the way to 2017 before she started her current views, I think. Was it later than that?
It was around then.
So they got 2 decades of not having to...
But she was early. She was early to this issue.
They got 2 decades of interviews where they got to just talk about the movie. And now that's never going to happen for these new actors taking on the series. I do still see people that are saying that the show's going to tank and fail.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that. I'm kind of going to let the jury's out on that one.
That was another thing that came up on IRL last week because Tim said that he thinks the Harry Potter series is going to fail because of the Snape race swap, and I disagree. It doesn't help, but the people who were going to boycott it because of J.K. Rowling, they're just going to boycott it. There aren't that many of them. The people who were going to boycott over a race swap are almost negligible, and this is for the millennials who are into the nostalgia. It's not going to bomb because of 1 or 2 politicized controversies surrounding it.
I do think that it will affect it. I do think at the very least it will affect someone's ability to like continue watching. Like it might be the type of thing where you don't notice it necessarily, or you don't feel some type of way, but it inhibits you from really getting into it in a way, and you
can't suspend
this
disbelief.
this is a person of no political ideology that's just watching it. They're just like, eh.
Well, what a blatant race swap like that does to the audience is it removes their ability to suspend disbelief, and it yanks them out of the fantasy universe that you're trying to immerse them in, and it brings them right back into contemporary political discourse.
And it's actually more noticeable when there's less of them being swapped. It becomes all encompassing when so much of it is different. But for the most part, the rest of the cast is
I mean, I think what could really hurt the show, and this is still far down the line because they're only just now casting, is if people discover that the script sucks.
Yeah.
If we see, sneak peeks or trailers or interviews from the actors about the actual content of the story, and we're led to believe that they have screwed that part up, that's what I think will take the show.
But we also have these comments from Nick Frost.
Yes, who is playing Hagrid in the Harry Potter series. Nick Frost did an interview with The Observer recently where, of course, they asked him about J.K. Rowling's views on trans people. The Hagrid announcement was in some ways bittersweet for Nick Frost. He had to disable comments on his triumphant Instagram post after criticism came from trans rights supporters, and that he would collaborate with J.K. Rowling, an executive producer on the show and vocal gender-critical campaigner. I think it's wild that we've turned such a corner that they called her a vocal gender-critical campaigner instead of, transphobe. Mm-hmm. I think that's proof enough that there's been some headway on this issue, thanks in large part to her. But here's Nick Frost's comment where he was low-key dissing J.K. Rowling, and he said, "She's allowed her opinion, and I'm allowed mine. They just don't align in any way, shape, or form." They ask him if he worries the debate about transgenderism will overshadow the series.
This
he
feels
says,
like a threat from the interviews.
Do you think it's going to overshadow the series?
You worried that this topic is going to come up just a little too often there, Nick?
Yeah. What do you think? They're going to point that
Don't say the wrong
microphone
thing.
Like a gun. But he said, I don't know, but maybe it shouldn't blow over. We shouldn't just hope it will go away because it makes it easier. Maybe we should educate ourselves. So his point is, yes, I'm excited about the series, but I'm also all too excited to jump into gender discourse, and I don't think that we should ignore it. I think we should pay more attention to this discourse, and if it overshadows the Harry Potter series as a whole, I don't have a problem with that. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I think just for that comment alone, you should just be fired. Is that like crazy of me to say? I think you should be fired for saying that.
I mean, in that respect, I don't.
He literally said that he doesn't have a problem with it if J.K. Rowling's controversies overshadow the show.
I mean,
he wants that to happen. That's essentially what he said.
I mean, should be fired. I don't know. I don't care. I don't know if it's a reason to fire him. I think it's a reason to pull him off the line and give him some media training.
I mean, that should have happened,
or at the very least
already. Or we could trust that he's a responsible adult who knows the implications of promoting a show or movie in an unwise manner.
Then the idea here is I'm guessing that most of these people got some type of media training. Then you go to the person who did that media training. You said, did you prepare him for this question? Was this what you told him to say? And if they say yes, then you fire the media trainer. Now, if what he said was different than what they advised him to talk about in this situation, then, I think they're early enough out that you give them a warning and you say one more F up before the release. Actually, you know what? You're right, because if they don't do it now,
they're
then
about to film.
Yeah, if you don't do it now, then there's no time afterwards to
They're about to film, and they don't need a problem child involved in this.
I do like this, though. Like, let's face it, there's Draco Malfoy in the upcoming Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It looks like a rap album cover.
Looks sick.
He looks, this picture goes hard.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said Brett might be a little bit too old to like Harry Potter. That was like literally came out when I was a kid.
You were into Harry Potter and I wasn't.
Yeah. As I loved those books when I was a kid, but that was like, again, 25 years ago.
But the books mattered more to you than the movies?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because for a lot of people, they care more about the movies than the books.
The movies were fine, I guess, but I enjoyed a lot of the there was a YouTuber who did a series. He does a series called Lost in Adaptation, where he did the difference between the books and the movies, and he's since taken them down. I think he's very vehemently against J.K. Rowling's views on transgender issues, so he took his series down. But he had a great video set where he would, go through what he liked about the books, what he liked about the movies, and then he would compare where the books and the movies were different. And it was actually really sad when he took them down, but he just doesn't align with her on this issue, so I think he just didn't want to promote her in any way.
I just think that you shouldn't be given the slap on the wrist. You shouldn't be given the leeway at this stage in the game. Knowing how big of an opportunity this is, shut up and be grateful. Stop causing problems. Yeah, Even what Papa Esiadu did when he signed the petition that named J.K. Rowling, and it was against the Supreme Court ruling in the UK, which defined biological sex. Fire him for that. He shouldn't have been hired in the first place because obviously the race swap was a terrible idea. But after that, if your own conduct is marring the public image of the project you're going to be in for the next 8 years, you deserve to be fired instantly with not a second thought. You should be fired. Absolutely.
Tom Felton gave the gold standard as far as answers that basically say, look, gratitude for the opportunities that I've been given. And that's not a very hard thing to do. But I think most of them
What if Tom Felton got the Snape role?
There was pictures of that. Let me see if I was actually...
He should have gotten the Snape role.
I was actually just looking at a picture of that. Somebody had like
now
a
that I
picture
think about that,
pulled up about this of him as Snape. That was really, really funny. I laughed when I saw that. But...
that would have been a far better choice.
He would have
both
been
for publicity reasons and just keeping accuracy to the book.
Here's a photo of it.
Yes. Yeah. I'm all in. I'm all in for this.
He'll have to change his voice because he's like, he can't say Potter like he does as Malfoy without it evoking Malfoy.
Can you do an impression of the way that Snape would say it?
I mean, I'd have to think back to Alan Rickman, but no, not off the top of my head. But yeah, it's great. So I think you're probably right, but I think that they're going to give them more leeway, which is a bad sign.
Yeah, I agree. Pop Culture Junkie said there's been a rumor in Hollyweird for about 6 months about a cottage industry that's gaming the AMC, Regal, Cinemark, and Fandango ticketing systems to make them appear overloaded. Not sure I believe it. It's more of a marketing strategy that you're going to make the headlines about the ticket sites crashing when... In reality, I'm just thinking like, oh, they must not have very good cybersecurity. Like,
I think I saw that on Cosmic Book News. Yeah, I mean, it's a great marketing. It's not too different than the OnlyFans girls who are like, I made $500 million in 1 second on OnlyFans, and you can too. Throw away your life and dignity and
here's my affiliate link.
Yeah,
it's all a big pyramid scheme. AI Shih Tzu said, could you guys boost the main gain by 1.5 dB.
I did turn it up by a tiny bit, but they were saying you were coming in a little quiet.
Well, I need to be loud.
Yeah.
You need to hear me loud and clear. Brian Bledsoe said, apparently Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap sold 5,000 in a few minutes. Flood it again. Well, they were only selling 5,000 of them.
Yes.
So
well,
I assumed that would happen.
Selling any amount in a few minutes is...
Yeah, and you're looking at the resale market right now. I understand.
Yeah, like they were selling on eBay for over $1,000.
No one's actually going to spend $1,000 on a bar of soap.
Hold on. Actually, I'm gonna go look now.
Come on now. Maybe we should cover this tomorrow.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
There were also unconfirmed reports that there is a hole in the soap.
That one I don't think.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that one's in there.
I also saw some people saying, like, ladies, you need to memorize what the pattern on the soap looks like. So if you see it in a man's shower, you got to get out of that situation.
We've got some on here. They're not that much. They're $300.
And there are bids? Are you seeing bids?
229. Well, this one's got 8 watchers on it right now. $280 or best offer with $4.57 for delivery.
I wonder why they didn't send it out to influencers to do reviews.
So yeah, it's running in the $250 to $300 range if you're looking to bathe with Sydney Sweeney's.
It's not quite as bad as we thought, but still.
I mean, technically, I think being up for resale. Okay, if you were to take the clinical approach, any item that's sold in limited quantities ends up on eBay.
They're selling it used.
Oh no!
No. We can't be having that.
Like, there's just.
But sadly, like, someone would still buy it used.
It's
You know that's true.
Yeah.
Some guy wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
They can all just like ship it around the country, 1 bath per person.
And they'll know.
The brotherhood of the traveling soap.
No.
That's what's gonna happen. The diseases.
Ugh. Let's do one more.
It's like a new strain of monkeypox. Shane H. Wilder said, friend of mine and yours, Mike Lerner, recommended The Ritual. Then I heard an exorcist say it was one of the most accurate films about spiritual warfare. I might see it this weekend and report back.
There you go.
He has a good taste. I would trust his recommendation.
All right.
I haven't heard about The Ritual, though.
Let's hold off on the rest, and we will come back after.
Alex Cooper, the host of Call Her Daddy, which happens to be the second most popular podcast on Spotify and the most popular podcast for women, now has a docuseries releasing tomorrow on Hulu called Call Her Alex. It's a play on the podcast title. They say Alex Cooper is at the top of her game, signing one of the biggest deals in podcast history. This was the $100 million deal with SiriusXM. This revealing 2-part docuseries gives audiences a behind-the-scenes, intimate look at her journey and the defining moments that shaped her influential voice. This is streaming starting tomorrow on Hulu. And sadly, there is a huge audience for this because the women in her fan base truly feel like they have a friendship with her and they do want to get vulnerable and get personal life advice from her, which we'll get to in a second, but I wanted to react to the melodrama of this trailer.
Okay, here we go.
Over fixating on making sure every single thing sounds good and looks good and is perfect. But the imperfections in the show are what make it even more me.
Here we go. That's such a hack. Like, that's such a hack in life to be like, everything's perfect, but if it's not perfect, that's because it's uniquely me.
Imperfectly perfect.
Like, that's
it's a home goods
like
sign.
If anything ever goes wrong in this show, the audio is too low for Mary, the shots don't look right, you don't like the topics, it's fine, because we're not perfect.
Yeah,
we're all our own person, and that's what makes this show special, guys.
We're authentic.
Astute businesswoman who understood where podcasting was going.
It's about intimacy. It's about empowerment.
Everything's about empowerment. Before she became a media icon, she had to find her voice.
I was fortunate to grow up in a household where it was normalized to speak your mind. Playing sports and making videos in my basement, those were the 2 things I really loved.
Why couldn't it have stayed that way?
It was exciting to start a new chapter of my life. I felt this enormous privilege that I was able to play Division I soccer.
And then the whole thing turned.
I experienced something extremely painful. It was all taken away from me. It ignited this desperate rush to find my new purpose.
Call her daddy.
Podcasting at that time was a male-dominated field.
They were talking about sex in a way that was so alpha male.
It was the biggest show in the world.
So awful.
But the whole thing broke down.
The podcast changed as Alex has changed.
If me being vulnerable makes people feel connected and seen, then I'm doing my job.
We want to make people
I've been
feel
at this
seen.
for 60 years. You're one of the best interviewers I've ever had.
This is the first time I'm ever going to be on a stage live in front of people.
Okay, we're slight delay.
As women, we learn don't be confident because that equals cocky.
You're allowed to advocate for yourself.
You're speaking like my therapist.
Let's put on a good show.
It's
We're
more
trying to
than
make
a
women
gang.
feel liberated. We want them to feel like they are respected and seen and heard.
It's a movement.
I have so much more that I want to do. And I'm just getting started.
Okay.
It's more than just the daddy gang. The daddy gang is so much more than the daddy gang. It's a movement for empowerment, for liberation, for authenticity, for feeling seen, heard, and validated. That's what she's selling. She is selling a version of authenticity, which is why she's so open with her audience. It kind of defies having a documentary that shows the behind the scenes when your entire podcast is about oversharing and trauma dumping. So I feel like everyone already knows everything that they could possibly find out about Alex Cooper. But theoretically, this documentary is going to give them a new perspective on her life and what predated the success of her podcast. And if you don't know the background on it, it used to be her and a co-host named Sophia Franklin, and they worked at Barstool Sports. Dave Portnoy was her boss. And eventually she went independent, and her co-host is no longer in the picture. And she turned the podcast from a graphic sex stories show, which is what they said. They were talking about sex in an alpha male way, giving women advice on the Gluck Gluck 9000. And it transitioned from that into a more safe for work celebrity interview show. It's not that unique of an idea, but she definitely deserves the credit for capitalizing on the moment that arose. And she just did a recent episode of her podcast, which was solo, not an interview. And sometimes she does this, a sit down episode where she's in a hoodie and sweatpants on the couch with a blankie. And she has like the slicked back bun, and she's like, we're just gonna get real with each other right now. We're gonna, really connect on this solo episode of Call Her Daddy. And the topic of that episode was why she is not ready for a baby. She is recently married as of last year, and she was planning on starting a family until her career started blowing up even more, and she decided to prioritize that. As she explains in this first clip, it's okay to change your mind and change your plans. This was her personal story and her advice to her audience.
Okay, here we go.
My career had never been busier and never been bigger. This past year, I signed a huge new deal. I turned 30. I didn't want to slow down. And getting pregnant inevitably would mean I had to slow down. I remember starting to have doubts. It started to eat me alive inside because this wasn't the plan that Matt and I were so excited about, and it's not the plan that we talked about and that we agreed upon. How had I gone from being so sure and so excited to start this process, and then now I'm doubting myself and second guessing everything, and I'm doing all this like fucking math in my head, and I think I started to like get so anxious and panicked, and I started to feel like it was all just like getting away from me, and I was losing this precious time. And so of course I had moments, I'll admit, when I started to think, fuck it, just try and suck it up. Like maybe once I'm pregnant, I'll feel differently. But then I always came back to like, I just know myself, and I know in my gut, I need more time. My career had...
What she is describing about her marriage is that her marriage is a show and she's the star of it. What she just described is actually grounds for divorce and annulment in the Catholic Church. If you marry someone under false pretense that you're planning to have a family and they take back that commitment, you were never married because you did not know what you were consenting to when you got into it. And she just had to tell her husband, well, no, I'm in charge because my podcast is a bigger deal than our marriage and our future family. And there were so many comments from her fans saying, you know, you'll never regret waiting. You'll only regret making the wrong decision too early. A lot of women saying they had their first babies in their late 30s to even their early 40s. Yeah. Had my son at 38. Don't rush it. We've been lied to our whole lives. You don't need to get pregnant or have kids to have a happy, great life. Motherhood shifts your focus, and if your focus is on your career, then that's okay. More than okay. It's commendable and responsible of you to think it out loud. So she's not just sharing this as her own personal story. She is sharing this as life advice for her fans. And in the second clip from this episode, she captions it, F the plan, F the timeline, in order to justify her decision.
All right, here we go.
About timelines. They can be helpful, but I also don't think we can let them dictate our lives. I have talked so much about timelines on this show because I genuinely believe that there is just so much more pressure on women regarding when they should be hitting certain milestones in their lives. You know yourself best. At the end of the day, only you have to live with the choices that you make about your life. That is way more stressful, in my opinion, than sticking to some like dumbass arbitrary made up timeline or your like mother-in-law bitching. Like, no, it's okay. It's your life. How do you want it to play out? I think getting fixated on a timeline is only going to box you in and make you feel stressed. Fuck the plan. Fuck the timeline. You can start over with anything at any point in your life. Whether it's moving to a new city, you're ending a relationship, you want to get out of a job you're miserable at, or you're pushing back when you want to have kids. The thing about timelines, they can be.
Only a 30-year-old who could say that. I think there are plenty of 60, 70-year-olds who would watch this and say, no, there are plenty of things that you can't take back. Yeah. There are plenty of things that you can't start over. You can't always get a fresh start.
I mean, she also seems to disregard her husband in that.
Yeah, he's just like a side show. I mean, he's like a side character. He's a supporting act in her life. He's just there to kind of be around when she needs him. But, you know, if he ever expects anything out of her, that's not okay. That would be controlling and abusive, actually. And I also wanted to mention, there's nothing arbitrary about the fact that you will go through menopause. There's nothing arbitrary about the timelines that are placed on you by your biology. And that's maybe a terrifying thing to think about, but that also means you're being controlled by fear about other factors in your life. One of the comments said, I'm turning 30 this year and getting married in November. Everyone is on mine and my fiance's ass about when we plan on having kids. I have a hand in deciding my fate. I'm also terrified to come off of birth control too. As like you and many other women, I have been on it since I was 15. Thank you for talking about this. So what that sounds like is you're actually not taking control of your own decisions out of fear for what would happen. She's fearful of what would happen to her career if she had a baby. This woman is fearful of what would happen to her body if she went off of birth control, which she started as a child. Like, that doesn't sound like an empowered woman making unencumbered decisions in her own life. That sounds like fear. But it's being framed in this totally deceptive way where this is actually empowering and this is actually relatable and you should be mirroring the decisions I'm making, daddy gang. And it's the same thing that happened when she got married last year after making her career and fame off of encouraging women to never commit. Their idea of talking about sex in an alpha male way means treat people as disposable objects because they feel like trash. They just want to get revenge on men who treat them like trash by treating the men like trash in return. That's not empowering. That's dehumanizing to everyone involved. And she encouraged the women watching Call Her Daddy to do the same thing and keep a roster and, you know, never get married, never commit, never define a relationship. And she did the opposite of that in her own life because she doesn't care what happens to anyone else. She'll step on anyone to get ahead. That's even what happened between her and her former co-host on the podcast. She went around her co-host's back to sign a new deal to take the podcast away and have it be her own thing. And people forget about that because it's synonymous with Alex Cooper at this point. But she clearly isn't someone who has any care for loyalty to her friends, colleagues, let alone her audience that is just a faceless number to her.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give her props for being a fantastic businesswoman.
I will too.
I know that the purpose of this topic is to discuss the lies about kids and waiting and all that stuff. But as far as building a brand that speaks to an extremely large subset of women, she is very, very good at her job.
Right.
Very good at her job.
Almost to the point where I think, is this woman a sociopath?
I mean, a lot of people in that space, I don't know if it's necessarily that somebody's a sociopath or the fact that when you create something from, the comfort of your studio and you send that out to the world, sometimes it's hard to realize that you're affecting actual people. And the other thing is, like, a sociopath would give the idea that she knows what she's saying is bad for people and that she does it anyways. I don't know if I buy that she is that malicious, or is it just that she buys into the feminism that she spouts to everybody else?
I'm not saying I know for a fact one way or the other is Alex Cooper a sociopath, but I wouldn't be surprised just from her track record and the influence she has if she knew she could say things to emotionally manipulate her female audience to appear to them as a friend, sitting on the couch in her sweatpants, talking about all these vulnerable topics, inviting them to see themselves in her, and then conducting herself in a completely different way behind closed doors, in a way that benefits her.
At a certain point, that's just business. It's just business, and there is a specific type of business model that works with a form of authenticity. It works in this space as well with certain types of content creators who, they make their bones by being open and honest with their audience. It allows people to draw a personal connection. She's probably like one of the more incredible examples of this. Obviously, I'm not speaking to anyone in specific. I can't even think of any off the top of my head, but the reason why people started going away from traditional media and going to alt media was the perceived authenticity of the creators. Why would they lie to me?
Yes.
After decades upon decades of corporate media and art, to see people who at least feign some sense of authenticity. Now, there's a definite discussion to be had about and I had like a tweet about this recently too. It's just like, at a certain point, the decision to say something crazy that nobody else will say is framed as authenticity because they feel like nobody else would say it. But when the benefit of saying so is so great, then it's less about authenticity and more about personal gain. Now, I wasn't thinking of her when I said that, and I was thinking more about people who say offensive things. They're like, like everybody brags about, on X wants to brag about how the words that they say that they're not supposed to say.
Right. But it does relate to this too.
It does. It
because
wasn't meant to.
She's making outlandish blanket statements about people's lives and the life-changing decisions that they can make. The wild thing that she said in that clip was F the plan, F the timeline.
I did see a super...
We don't plan things out. We just do whatever feels best to us in the moment. And like, people in the audience would think, oh, I love Alex Cooper. Everyone else is afraid to say this. She's not afraid to say it. Everyone else is thinking it, but they're too cowardly to say it out loud. And I love that she's so authentic to say it.
I do agree with this comment from Yvonne. Ivan says, Mary forgets that Alex is the norm. Mary is actually the abnormal woman. Alex behaves like most women.
I disagree with that. I think that she has an audience of women that are, of course, easily influenced and suggestible, and they're falling for a lot of propaganda, but she is smarter than them.
Yes, but,
by a long shot.
Yes, but she is what she says resonates with them, so she is the norm. If I'm to take her at her word, and she's not just saying it for money, right? Like that's the quintessential idea of the grifter, right? That she buys into the feminist messaging that she's selling everyone, then she is simply parroting back what is already the norm amongst women in today's culture. Your views on religion, your views on relationships and birth control are not the societal norm.
Certainly, yes.
They are not.
Yes, I agree with that at least. And I mean, I think that I also wanted to touch on this, that she's talking about her situation about delaying family while married, which a lot of the women watching, they're not married. So they're hearing her advice as a married person on why you should delay starting a family when they're not even in a relationship, let alone engaged or married.
They're like, yeah, I will wait to get married.
Yeah, it's like, well, you don't have the luxury of deciding that because you're not with the future father of your children yet. She is. She's speaking literally from a place of privilege. And it would be a much different conversation if she were sitting there as a single woman, especially if she were sitting there as a single celibate woman, talking about how kids aren't in her immediate future. But as a married person who was planning to have kids this year and decided against it because a giant $100 million podcast deal showed up in her lap and demanded more of her priorities, that is a totally different planet of discussion. It's not relatable. And I think it's someone who with a very unique trajectory in life, and she knows that, and she has very unique skills and advantages and privileges over most of the women who watch her show. And she knows all of that, but she will still disguise herself as a relatable friend who is on an equal playing field with them and can give them advice that actually means something. It's a lie. It's just, it infuriates me to see her lying through her big old veneers the way that she does.
There's a 20 here from Elijah Flash 232 says Joe Rogan talking about random shit bad. 304 is talking about 304 shit is good. Got it.
According to
Alex Cooper.
I suppose. I mean, Joe Rogan is about as mainstream as you can get as a podcaster, though.
Yeah,
it's almost a red flag if a man doesn't listen to Joe Rogan.
But the thing is like, no. I think that's one of those. I think Joe Rogan is a sort of benchmark for how generally open-minded someone can be these days.
Yeah.
If I see somebody who I don't know anything about, and at the very least they follow Joe Rogan, you know that they're willing to listen to people who say crazy shit and people that disagree with them, because he does tend to have people. It's a guy who'll have on Bernie and JD Vance and Trump and whoever wants to talk about stuff. So they're vastly different markets, though.
I'm sure it doesn't even need to be said, but for any of the men watching, if you find out that the girl you're dating is in the daddy gang, run, don't walk.
Yep.
It's not a good sign.
All right.
Quiet Inari said, we call these chicks has-beens. Is that a term you've heard before?
Not one I'd ever heard before.
So wait, they used to be lesbian and now they're not?
I guess so.
Or they're pretending to be?
We've got a $2 from Deep South EDC says, Dave Porton Gay.
Clever.
It was very clever.
The wordplay is masterful.
It's, I mean, what do you do with...
Port soy.
Ah,
duh.
There you go.
Dave Portsoy.
My goodness.
Gay Portsoy. Shane H. Wilder said, the voice of your ancestors are calling you. They are calling you to stop singing so they can rest in peace, you screeching harpy. You should listen.
Yep.
No need to apologize for the typo there, Shane.
We're a little bit over halfway to a second crisis party. And of course, if you really, really identify with us and what we're talking about feels so authentic to you.
It's more than the gongo.
It's more than the gongo.
Movement.
It's a movement.
Shane H. Wilder said, Felton seems to be the most down-to-earth. He's like, man, I'm just happy to be here, unlike Nick Frost, who's only worth watching opposite Simon Pegg.
The thing is, though, is like for Tom Felton, I feel like the kids were put in an even bigger position back then because they were representative of that first real mainstream push for something outside of the books, right? Nick Frost won't be remembered in 10 years as Hagrid. Robbie Coltrane will always be Hagrid to the average person. So his statements have less weight. So the gratitude that Tom Felton is able to convey, I really do feel like they should be showing new actors his responses on stuff and then, go for an air of mystery. Great to be here. Boom, you're out like a phantom. Irish goodbye. Just leave. Just leave the interview.
I mean, at this point, I would appreciate if they just said, like, why are you asking me about J.K. Rowling? Like, just turn it around on the interviewer.
It's great. It's like, what, did she say something?
Yeah, like, or they just play dumb,
Or just be like me.
Play dumb.
Wow, that's crazy.
They're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, yeah, just be me, old me. Wow, I didn't know that.
So she thinks women are women and men are men. Oh.
Interesting.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I'll make sure to read up on that. Thanks. Weary Traveler said, do people ever get tired of being seen? I mean, on a real note, that is such a visceral desire that people have.
Yeah.
And I see the way that it's being weaponized against them.
I saw Anthony Luna talking about representation in Star Wars. And as a straight white dude, you kind of get backseated when people talk about this. Like, sit down. You don't have a right to complain because you've been represented your whole life. I'm like, yeah, but I'm short. There's not a lot of short representation. We have like Tom Cruise and that's it.
Well, even if they're short, you're not going to be able to tell in the movie.
Yeah, especially if they do the good camera work. But I guess I never really thought about it. There's so many movies that I love that have nothing to do with race or gender, at least constructively. At least I wouldn't place them that way. It's very weird. But
Well, I think people use the concept of being seen in their identity, the one they've chosen, to avoid being seen for who they really are. Maybe armchairing a little bit, but that's my opinion. You shouldn't strive to be seen by a podcaster or a piece of media that you're consuming. You should actually hope to eventually be seen by a person who loves you, who knows you.
Yeah.
Not a movie. It's just so misguided. Omega Red fan said, my ship is going down. Please purchase DLC Gongo expansion. Thank you, LOL.
That video is great.
That's just what everything looks like in the Gongo, actually.
Yeah.
It's just constant bombing, floods, natural disasters. People are screaming. It's just, there's just the tectonic plates are wiping them out constantly. Andimus said, telling women that long-term planning is a bad thing sounds like sabotage. Doesn't it? Yeah, like, that's why I can't seem to get... I can't seem to be convinced that Alex Cooper is just a useful idiot, you know? I know she's smart. I know that she makes smart decisions in her own life, both career-wise and in the choice of getting married last year. In the choice of who she married, someone else who's in her industry, is powerful and wealthy. She knows what's good for her, but she's going to tell her audience to do the opposite.
I'm also going to point out that there's a bit of a divide on gender lines about, whether we should be putting some type of regulation into place on podcasting.
Like what?
Here, I'll show you this video. I was watching this. I think it's the same one. So.
That nation has just occurred on the outer ring of the city. We'll now be going live to our top influencer opinion.
This one.
But sleep is bad for you. Did you read that somewhere? I don't read. It lowers your testosterone. Really?
Podcast police! Put the mic down! Put the mic down! Don't even think about it!
This episode is over, fellas. We're the podcast police.
We're a task force that stops white guys from starting podcasts for no reason. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Subscribe to the Patreon. All right, enough.
It's become a real problem here in Los Angeles. These guys reuse mics, share mics, podcast in the morning, podcast at night. Hell, half the time they don't realize the mic's not even plugged in. Poor guy doesn't even have a co-host.
Mics down! Mics down! God damn it, they fled! Just missed him. Mike's still hot. Jesus.
Every year we lose about half our recruits.
Do they die?
No.
We're losing the podcast. Class of 2015. Lost a lot.
Theo Vaughn and Danny Polachek.
17-year-old for podcasting. Already on the mic. What life advice could you possibly be sharing? Hey! Get back here! Parents call. I had no idea my son was podcasting. You had no idea? Your son's 11. He's asking for a goddamn cold plunge!
I mean, what do you need? I got mics. I got whatever podcasting equipment you need.
You know what? I need for you to get on the ground! You gotta follow the money. All this is funded by big sponsors. You got Roman, BetterHelp, Athletic Greens. Those guys go under, this whole nightmare ends. Good fucking luck.
You say the best time to invest is yesterday, so when it comes to compound interest...
Everything okay there, buddy? We got a runner! We got a runner! Drop the mic and don't say another word!
Well, biologically speaking, men are stronger than... For 25% off MeUndies.
MeUndies!
And people don't know this, but
I just sent you another one that I wanted to show about podcasters. This is the one I showed you last week, and I was like, wait,
yes,
this is our life. Like, I felt
Perform for the female gaze, sitting in a coffee shop with painted nails reading Sylvia Plath. Have you noticed if a girl has a snap score higher than a certain number? Chaperone was rude to an interviewer. Chaperone should say what she wants. The Met Gala is stupid and immoral. Here's why. Here are the top 10 looks for the Met Gala. Here's a clip from Suits. Here's another clip from Suits. We're all going to watch Suits slowly over many months with the same little clip, which is that they underestimate the lawyer and he pulls it off in the end. Just stop. Eat an entire banana with the skin on. Freak people out. It's Freak People Out Summer. Have you?
it's
us.
It's all too much sometimes. The discourse, it just sounds like white noise.
It is.
AI Shih Tzu said, just call your mistakes artisanal podcasting when you goof. Like how farmers market bread is just bread that looks dirty or pre-distressed clothes.
There you go.
Yeah, we're actually only a podcast for a certain upper echelon of listeners. Brian Bledsoe said, looking forward to the PCC Ironheart recap. LOL.
Bro, I'm not reviewing Ironheart.
Is anyone?
Yes.
Is that a thing that people are like paying attention to?
Well, YouTubers will review it to dunk on it. I'm not.
It's
Velma. I love myself. No, I mean Marvel. It'll work. I love myself too much to put myself through that.
Not reviewing Ironheart
says
is
the guy. Says the guy who's like, Agatha all along wasn't that bad.
And it has 6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
3 of which are premiering all at once, so you'd have to be watching it for like your entire evening.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Jared Klein said, I may have missed this on an earlier episode, but when is the Mary Morgan bathwater infused soap coming out? I believe someone did already ask that question, and the answer was no then, and it is still no now. It is never coming out. It's never happening. Shane H. Wilder said her marriage was all about the status and she never wanted to get pregnant. Entering into a marriage under false pretenses always leads to divorce. Well, it's not that I hope to see her marriage, go up in flames. I genuinely don't desire someone's downfall like that.
They're preying on my downfall.
But like, I don't see how it could end another way if she literally lied to this man and said that they would be starting a family after they got married and then took back her promise. That's a very serious betrayal of trust. And wasting someone's time as well.
I put on True Detective season 1 last night because it's been so long since I've seen it. And it's so dour, and I love every minute of it. And I'm just thinking about the nihilism of Cole's character. I would love a podcast with Rust Cole. I would love in fact, you know what? That's my pitch to HBO. I want them, this is for the guys. Mm-hmm. I want them to hire Matthew McConaughey to return to his character and have him do a podcast, a philosophy podcast.
Where it's just nihilism?
Where it's just his sort of anti-human intellectual nihilism.
You don't want to consume something like that.
But I know it's fake, so I would be interested to see where the writers would go.
Actually, I know this is just an audiobook, but like a fictional podcast would be more entertaining than a real one.
Yeah?
We actually script all of our episodes. We just memorize our lines before the show and we go live.
Oh, there was one great. So Tim was like, actually, Timcast has been AI the whole time.
The whole time.
And somebody
it
said...
It was all a government experiment.
And somebody said, they said, will Timcast AI be able to make Brett as thin as he was in season 1? And I was like, ah!
And they called you Bread, too.
Yeah. And I was like, ah! And then shot to the heart.
Hey, wait a minute. We're still in season 1. What are you talking about?
Well, I you know.
We're still in season 1.
You know, it's
technically.
You know. If you look on our like actual podcast, it's season 1, episode 852.
But we did joke in the office about the different seasons of like the Timcast TV show and like which season did each person join.
Yeah.
I don't know what they told me. I think they told me that I joined during season 3.
Okay. So then I guess I would have been season 2.
Then what season are we on right now?
I don't know, like for a while there, it was like one of those seasons must have gotten extra episode orders because it felt like nothing changed for very long. I don't know.
But Bash said, just woke up. What did I miss?
You didn't miss anything.
We can start over if you'd like.
We've got 1 minute, so we could just start over if you want. Hey, guys, what's going on? It's episode 852 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Happy Monday. We're back from the weekend. There's a lot to cover.
We got a lot to get into, but before we get started, guys, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, you know the best way that you can help this channel grow is to share these videos, these live streams out with everybody that you know. Okay, anyway.
We're losing it a little bit.
Okay, there's 2 more there.
Weary Traveler said I would listen to the Rust Cold podcast.
And I was trying to explain to Mary why it was so great to look at Woody Harrelson's character, because what will happen in the show is Rust will say something deeply nihilistic but very intelligent, and then Woody Harrelson just turns to me and goes, "You gotta stop saying shit like that. It's unprofessional." Like in fact that would be even better version.
Woody Harrelson.
A better version would be the Rust Cold podcast where he says all this stuff and Woody Harrelson is just there playing the guy who's there to tell him that everything he says is inappropriate.
You could say, you can't be saying shit like that. It's gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, I don't want pre-distressed clothes. I want post-distressed clothes that went through some ish, got their life together, and are happy with life now. That's called upcycling, actually.
All right. All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Believe it or not, we did not just start the show over. We're actually at the end of the show now. So we can think about one more there.
Pop Culture Junkie said WTF just happened. I mean, we just followed orders. You wanted us to start over.
Oh, here's another one. On the chat, Pablo says, can AI properly replicate how close Brett's eyes actually are?
Y'all are so rude.
They're kind of like, like fingers with old AI, where they'd always have 6 fingers. They're not quite close enough together.
Don't give this comment a spotlight, Brett. You're just feeding into the trolls.
Okay. All right, Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. And send me your indifference on TikTok at Mary Archived. I haven't decided on that one yet.
All right. Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, which is a great way to help us out as well. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We got to get out of here before the podcast police come in and turn it off.
Shane H. Wilder said, you had a stroke, Pop Culture Junkie. It will be okay. I think all of you just had a collective episode of Deja Vu, which I don't actually recall having on any episode. Have you had Deja Vu in the middle of an episode?
No. I have Deja Vu, but not for the show.
I don't have dreams about the show either, which is weird.
I've never had a dream about the show.
It's odd, right?
Yeah. What's going on, guys? It's episode 852. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back. I would have been able to go through the whole intro if you hadn't laughed, but
Sorry,
that's okay.
You off.
We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We will see you guys then. Bye everybody.